These notes will accompany the notes in your interactive notebook titled The President and His Many Hats. A couple of the things, well, more than a couple, a few of the things in this video are not in your notes. There are some just that are examples. So let's start with the presidential hats. The first hat is the chief executive, which is a conductor's hat. If you remember our discussions in class, these technically aren't hats that the president wears. They are roles that he plays. But the hats are just to help you remember the roles that he does play. So as chief executive, he would wear the conductor's hat. This is because the conductor will drive the train. So technically in this case, the train is the executive branch. Chief diplomat is a top hat because as chief diplomat, the president does work with other countries around the world, and he should be and look his best. As chief of state, he would wear a crown because he is the symbol of the United States. As commander-in-chief, obviously it would be a military hat. Chief legislator is the jester's hat because if you know the history of a jester, they were to entertain the king and queen. So the president actually has to entertain Congress, but not in the same way that a jester would have entertained the king and queen. Chief citizen is a baseball hat because it's a normal everyday thing. And then political party chief is the top hat with the red, white, and blue. As chief executive, the president's job is to administer the federal bureaucracy. What this means is that he basically is the manager of the executive branch. He makes sure they do their job. In this position, he appoints cabinet officers. He is responsible for also executing the laws. As an example, demonstrating the role of chief executive, George Washington approved Alexander Hamilton's objective of beginning a national banking system in 1791. As chief diplomat, the president manages foreign policy. This means he works with other countries, and he does this in a lot of different ways, but it is to do business with them, which makes it different from chief of state. In this position, he may appoint ambassadors to represent the United States when he is not available. He also does meet with foreign leaders if and when it becomes necessary. As chief diplomat, this is an example, Thomas Jefferson arranged the Louisiana Purchase with Napoleon of France. This basically doubled the size of the United States. As chief of state, the president is the living symbol. In this role, he doesn't have a lot of power, but he does ceremonial duties, like throwing out the first baseball of a baseball season, lighting the national Christmas tree, or greeting foreign leaders and entertaining them. As an example, as chief of state, President Clinton greeted the Queen of England when she made her trip to the United States. As commander-in-chief, the president is obviously in charge of the military. He is the head. He's the commanding officer. And this is all branches of the military. He also can take control of the Coast Guard if and when it were to become necessary. As an example, the War of 1812 prompted James Madison's role as commander-in-chief. The war was between Britain and the U.S. with a disagreement over American rights in the Atlantic Ocean. The war was also about expansion into Canada, as well as American independence and honor. As chief legislator, the president plays a large role in influencing policymaking, so that means he does work with Congress in this role. He does things like gives the State of the Union address. This is when he proposes ideas for new bills for the year. He appeals directly to the people. He signs and vetoes bills, and he does appoint those who will help him carry out the laws. Proving to be a legislative leader, Jefferson signed into law the bill that banned the importation of slaves beginning January 1, 1808. As chief citizen, the president is just a role model. He works for the good of the citizens. He basically should fulfill the duties and responsibilities as well as exhibit character traits of good citizen. An example, as chief citizen, President George Bush puts his hand on his heart while pledging allegiance to the flag. As party chief, or a political party leader or political party chief or chief of party. He is the head of his political party. He does things like supporting other candidates in his party and supporting the party when it does have fundraisers. Any decisions that he makes basically becomes the stand that the party takes. As an example, as political party chief, President Monroe encouraged 3 of his cabinet officials in their bids to become president. His Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams, became the next U.S. president in 1825.